Hi, and welcome to Dear Andy, where every week we answer your college football questions here at SI.com. I'm here in lovely Amelia Island, Florida to cover the ACC spring meetings. It's a tough job, but I love you, and that's why I do it. We'll get right to the questions. Our first question comes from Bud Elliott, who runs the Tomahawk Nation website for SBNation.com. Bud asks, in your opinion, which team is being most overranked and underranked in the post-spring polls you've seen? Well, Bud, let's go even further back than post-spring. Let's look at one that I did for the magazine right before the national championship game, basically a way too early top 10. I had USC at number 4, and ever since then I've been regretting that. Not because I don't think USC is going to be good, I do, I'm just not sure they're going to be that good. You're asking a lot of a team that's replacing most of its front seven, that's still going to have some depth issues because of those NCAA sanctions, which are over, but the effects are still lingering. I just don't know that USC in a very tough Pac-12 South is going to be able to win enough games to make the playoff, and if they're number 4, they'd be in the playoff. As for underranked, the team I'm not seeing very high, or not seeing at all in some of the top 25 is Missouri. They're awfully low in some of them, or not in there at all in others. And look, they've won the SEC East the past 2 years. They bring back a lot. When you look at the SEC East, you've got a bunch of teams that are searching for an identity. You don't know what Florida's going to be. Georgia's replacing its offensive coordinator. Tennessee's still sort of finding its way. Missouri, the Tigers know what they are. They know what they do. They've had a coaching staff in place forever. That's a team that you can pretty reliably predict their results. Now, that first year in the SEC, they had terrible injury problems, but that may turn out to be the anomaly because they seem to be doing fine now. So I don't know that I would put them at the bottom of the top 25 or out of the top 25. I think probably need to be up a little higher. This question comes from KC. Why has the Big 12 fallen so far behind the Big 10, SEC, and Pac-12? I love the conference superiority questions because they don't really take randomness and luck and some of the other stuff into account. The prevailing opinion is the Big 12, because it got left out of the playoff last year, is somehow not on par with the other power conferences. Think about this. If Georgia Tech makes a couple stops in the ACC championship game, the Big 12 gets one team in because Florida State would have lost. So that's one. Now, imagine Ohio State doesn't beat Wisconsin by 59, but instead beats Ohio State by 4. Guess what? Big 12's probably getting 2 teams to the playoff at that point. And all of a sudden, the Big 12 is the best league in the country. So let's not judge based on that result, because it was still fairly random. You play those games over, you may not get the same result, and you may not have the same opinion of the Big 12. This question comes from Zach, and he asks, any reasons you can think of that Ohio State will not cruise to and through the playoff? Well, as for cruising to, the reason I can think of is the Michigan State Spartans. They're pretty darn good. They play in Columbus this year, but that's a game Ohio State could lose. That's a very good program. They've been winning for a long time. Veteran team, knows how to win. And you could ask Ohio State coach Urban Meyer about teams that are supposed to win the national title. His 2009 team at Florida was supposed to win the national title. It's hard to win a national title. It takes a lot of luck. And nobody should understand this better than Ohio State fans. Remember 2002? That Miami super team that crushed everyone in 2001. They brought back almost everybody. They rolled through the regular season. Who'd they meet in the BCS title game? Ohio State. Who won the game? Ohio State. So the team that comes back loaded, the returning national champion that's supposed to win, doesn't always win. And they know that. This question comes from Brian. He asks, why can teams restrict player transfers but also have the ability to not renew a scholarship? Well, Brian, basically because the people in charge of college sports, a lot of them are hypocrites. But the good news is, now you've got 4-year scholarships in a lot of the power conference leagues because, well, they didn't do it out of the kindness of their hearts. They were getting sued out the wazoo in federal court, but they're still doing it. So now it's a little harder to take that scholarship away. As for why they can restrict transfers, they do it because they can, because they have all the power. As you've seen, pretty much the only way to make them give up that power is to take them to federal court. So we'll see how the transfer situation goes as some of these cases work their way through the system. Now that's kind of a downer, but Brian asked a follow-up question. It's a pretty good one. Can you do your job and still enjoy college football? Now, you listen to that answer I just gave and you'd say, oh no, he's pretty cynical. No, that's not true. Yeah, that stuff bugs me. It bugs everybody who likes college football. But you know what? When you watch the games, the passion from the players, from the fans, That's real. You watch those guys playing their guts out. And I'm not talking about national title caliber games. I'm talking about like the Bahamas Bowl. Did you watch that last year? Western Kentucky and Central Michigan, those guys were putting it all out there in a game that most people would call meaningless, but it's not meaningless because it's a game and those guys want to win. That part I love, and you can't fake that. So that's why I can still love college football and do my job. For SI.com, I'm Andy Staples.